The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, hello everyone. My name's Miles. So I work here at Chintaro as a support agent and also do a bit of the training as well. You may have run into me on the traps, perhaps by email or over phone. If you haven't, hello and welcome. I'm sure we'll be working together in future. So today's webinar topic is on word mergers. So this has been one that has been highly requested. It is one we've covered in the past, but invariably it is something that can be quite tricky. So we're going to cover off a few things and hopefully it's going to demystify, I guess, some of those tricky parts and help you utilize Chintaro to make your work a lot easier. All right, so let's get started. So this is our user training webinar for word mergers. So before we start, just a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, if you do have any questions at any point, we'd love to hear them. Just based on the amount of people here, we've got about 20 odd people. It's going to be quite difficult if we're all talking, so everyone's on mute. If you have a question, there should be a question box on the GoToWebinar panel. You may need to click that little arrow so that it expands. And from there, you're able to type in the questions. It may be myself answering, or it could be my colleagues like Kate and Julie answering the questions. We do request that the questions relate to the topic of word mergers. If you do have any other queries or perhaps something that this reminds you that you need to follow up, shoot those through to support@chintaro.com.au or give us a bell, as we do have a dedicated support agent tackling those. So what are the user webinars? So they're aiming to run on the third Thursday of each month, just depending on workload and other commitments that we have. But we're going to be doing these on a monthly basis, and they're going to be covering functions which users can find tricky. So you guys will actually get to decide what the topic will be based on the feedback that we receive, as well as the tickets that we have coming in. So we'll cover those based on that month's feedback. And if you do have any suggestions or any requests on what you'd like to see covered, again, shoot those through in the questions or alternatively drop us an email and we'll get through to them. So they'll run for about 20 to 30 minutes. This one I'm going to keep relatively brief just so that you guys are able to digest what we're covering off. And it's designed to help you get the most out of Chintaro. So it's mainly going to be refreshers and also exploring functionality of Chintaro that you may be unfamiliar with, or as I said, that users might find a little bit tricky or we have common questions about. So let's start with the obvious place. What are word mergers? So essentially, the goal with Chintaro is to support you and make your sometimes challenging role easier for you. Word mergers can be a very powerful tool in minimizing the amount of work you need to do. So we want to make sure that you're able to get the most from this. So word mergers are a way to combine the data from within Chintaro with a Word document. And this allows you to create invoices, receipts, account balances, letters, and much more. And although they are powerful tools, they can be tricky to master. So today we're going to give you the building blocks, essentially, to help you on your way to mastering the art of word mergers. So these are the 4 steps that we're going to cover off today. So we're just going to break it down a little bit so that we can focus on each of those steps. The first one being how to create a word merge template. So that's jumping into Word, taking an existing document and building it into a template for word merges. Second one there is how to save a word merge template. So this will be where to put them on your computer or on your network and what to save the document as. How to set up a word merge template. So that's taking our templates that we've made and then getting it set up in Chintaro so that we can then do the word merge. And that last one there is just how to generate a word merge. So the straightforward one, finally, we'll look at how to execute word merges from within Chintaro once we've completed all the above steps. All right, so how to create a word merge template. To get started, we need 2 things. We need a Word document and we need a text file or a TXT file. The Word document, so we have 2 options when starting to build a word merge. We can either start from a blank Word document or we can take an existing document and modify it for a word merge. Today we're going to be looking at the latter, just for the sake of time, but the premise is the same on how you go about it. Modifying an existing document can be very handy for documents that your organization uses on a regular basis, such as forms or letters, as you're able to automatically generate the information required, minimizing the amount of repetitive typing that you need to do while copying and pasting. And also, obviously, that ensures accuracy because you are exporting data directly from Chintaro, as opposed to actually, manually doing that, human error. The other thing we need, aside from our Word document, is the relevant TXT file. Before we build our word merge, we actually need to know which screen we want to do the word merge from. That is, within Chintaro, we're looking at word merge. Are we looking to do it with clients, with tenants, or from the maintenance screen, or perhaps somewhere else? A word merge will only work with the screen it's designed for. So you can't do a word merge for a tenant using a client template. You need a separate one for each. This list that you can see here is a grouping of the word merge text files that will be in your templates folder already as part of Chintaro. For today's demonstration, we'll start off with a client word merge. So we'll need to use the corresponding word merge client. So I'm just going to highlight there so you can see that one there. And that's this one, word merge client.txt. So it's very important we select the right one because they will have different variables for different screens. So we'll just flick over to our Word document. So I just want to ensure that you guys are able to see that on your screen. So just bear with me and I will make sure that I can see what you're saying. Yes, perfect, okay. All right, so you can see here a nice little Christmas letter that I've pre-prepared. So I did actually type this out from scratch. So if you were to be creating something from scratch, it's very similar. You just type in the text you want. I've left capitals for the fields that I want to make, the fields that are going to be part of the variables for word merge, just so I can remind myself when it comes to it and I can see clearly from there. All right, so we've got our document. And the next step that we're going to do is we're going to go into mailings. So up here, we're going to select mailings. That's going to give us our word merge options from here. We're going to select recipients. Might seem a little bit counterintuitive, but this is where we go. And we're going to use an existing list. So we're going to select that TXT file that we have. So as you can see here, it's gone into one of the folders. I'm just going to navigate to where mine is located. So if we could just go into the data folder. This location is obviously going to vary depending on your setup. It may be a shared drive. Because I'm a single user here, I have it on the C drive. So I'm going to go into templates here. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And I'm going to look for word merge client because we're doing a client one. So I'll select this. And you'll see that a few of these options now are clickable, which is what we want. So what we want to do is we want to click Insert Merge Field. So I'm just going to highlight the field and I'm going to select Insert Merge Field. So I'm going to select address from here. And sorry, I can just hear a bit of an echo, so I'm just going to mute my colleagues there. Cool. So yes, I've selected the address here and I'm just going to select city from my insert merge field here. So I'll go down city and you can see the formatting's gone a little bit out there, so you might need to just adjust that as you go. I'm going to select state. Where is state? There it is, T-City state. And I'm going to select postcode, T-City postcode. This one here is for the date that the letter's sent. That's going to be today, so I'm going to select today's date. And because it's something that's kind of casual, it's just a Christmas letter advising of the dates that we're going to be closed or limited. I'm going to just select a first name. And because it is casual, I'm just going to use their known name. So this is the field in Chintaro for a client. There could be nicknames different from their first name. So as it's not something that's too official, I'm going to keep that as their known as name. And perfect. So that's how we've set it up there. We've had a look at it and we can see it there. If we want to have a test of what's going on here, we can press this button here, preview results. And that will just make sure or ensure that we've selected it and formatted it in the correct way. And I can see that and I'm quite happy with that. Cool, so I'm just going to jump back into our PowerPoint slide here. So we've created the word merge. We're happy with that. So next step in the puzzle. That is how to save a word merge template. So now we've built out the template and we're happy with how it looks. We need to save it. Easy, right? Not so fast. Templates can be tricky, especially in Word. So we're going to go through this together to explore some of the key things we need to do to make sure our word merge is working successfully. The first of which is location. So Chintaro makes things easy by storing all the word merges in one place so that everyone can access them at any time. The templates folder within central Chintaro files is where they will reside. For cloud customers, this will be in the shared data folder in the cloud. So you can see the path here that I have selected. For different people, it's going to be slightly different depending on your setup. So your mileage may vary, but this data/templates will be the same for every single client. What precedes this may be different, and especially that C dot, it may be a different drive that you work with. The next is file type. So word merges need to be saved as a template document, also known as a .dot or a .x. Word defaults to using a word.doc or a docx. So these are documents, not templates, and they won't work with word merges in Chintaro. So there are a few quirks when saving a .x file, so let's explore that together. So we'll jump back to our document that we've put together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save. So normally we'll just hit that save button, but what we want to do is we want to go into File and we want to save as. I'm going to select the location. And now it just defaults to whatever my pre-selected documents folder is. But you'll notice that when I select the file type down here, and this should always be your first step, select the file type, we'll go down and we'll go to .x, word template, and you'll see that the location has actually changed. So if you were to kind of navigate to that templates folder and then you change this, it's going to bounce back to here. And that's a default setting of Windows and also Word. So that catches out people a lot of times. They say, oh, I've saved the document and I can't find it. The reason might be because it's gone to the wrong location. So we always try and do this as the first step, select the file type, and then we navigate through to where we want to save it. So in my case, I save it under here. And this is the folder with all the other templates, and you can see all the .x's in there. So I'm just going to make this a convenient name for me. So this will be webinar Xmas letter. And I will hit save. So I'm happy that that's a template, and I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with the location. Cool, save, easy. Now we will go back to our PowerPoint. So once we have saved, next we need to set up the word merge template in Chintaro. So Chintaro will automatically scan the documents that are located in that templates folder, but we need to assign it to a particular screen so that when we log into Chintaro, it knows which template to use for which corresponding screen. So let's have a look at that now. I'll just open up my Chintaro, and I've been here before, but let's go to the home screen. So from the home screen, we go into system maintenance. So system maintenance is our kind of panel for accessing all the settings and configuration within Chintaro. If your option here is grayed out, that means that privilege has been deassigned from you. So you'll need to speak to your system administrator about getting that privilege. Alternatively, they can do this step for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into system maintenance, and you can see our list of options here. The last one here is set up word merges. And this will take us to our screen of word merges. Now, one thing to be mindful of here, it does default to tenancy word merges. So you can see that up here. And this will be all the word merges that pertain to tenancies. What we need to do is navigate across here. So see these buttons, arrears, tenancy, client, waiting list. These correspond to the screens in which we're going to do the word merge. So these will be all the word merges for arrears. These are the ones for tenancies, and the one we want is client. So what we want to do is we want to go into the letter name. These will auto-populate. So we go into the letter name here, and we will call it whatever we want to appear in Chintaro. I'm going to call it webinar Xmas letter just so I can find it easily. You may want to call this something a bit more formal because this is what we'll show in Chintaro. Over here, we will select the file. So all these here are everything that's located in the templates folder. And if you're ever a little bit unsure about where your templates folder is, this little link here is a little shortcut to your folder. So when you click on that, that's just opened on my other screen. So I'll bring that across. You'll see that it actually takes you to that templates folder. So if you're ever unsure about the particular path that you need to go to, Chintaro will point to that for you to make things a little bit easier. And you can just copy and paste in your file here if you'd like. So I'm going to go down, I'm going to select my file. Notice all these files are just .dots or .x. This is why it's important to save it as this file type. If you saved it as a document, it won't appear here and you won't be able to select it. Here's my Xmas letter, and that's it. So now I just exit, and we're done. We have now configured the word merge within Chintaro. So I'm just going to jump back into our PowerPoint here, and next step is how to generate the word merge. So we've set up a word merge in Chintaro, and now we want to test it. As we've discussed, it's important to remember that we can only use the word merge from the screen we have built the template for. So let's jump back in and see how that works. So I'm going to navigate into my client screen here, just using that quick toolbar up the top, which I like to use. I'm going to select Mr. Jimmy Barnes. Let's go into him. And I can see Jimmy has been a naughty boy, so he's previously been barred, so I've just got a pop up there reminding me of that. Now, one thing I didn't mention is that you can actually do a word merge from this screen. This will word merge on an individual level. You can do it on bulk, but today we're just focusing on the individual. Personally, I like to go into the client, but you can just highlight the row and do the word merge from there. So I'm going to go in there. See, I can select word merge from there, but I'm actually going to log into or step into the particular client. I'll get that warning again. I'll go to word merge. My word merge is here. And one thing I want to consider is whether I want to leave a client note. So what that's going to do is it's actually going to leave a note here explaining that in this instance, there was a note left. I believe that was by myself today. For the Christmas letter, which was sent out to this individual. If it was something that was perhaps not formal, maybe like a Christmas letter, we might not want to leave a note because we might want to focus this on more official contact that we've had or more official notes that we want to document. In this instance, I will leave a client note, and then I just hit word merge up here. Now I've got this error. I'm wondering, oh, why have I got this error? Permission denied. The reason is because I've actually left the document open. So just like you can't delete a file that's open, you can't do a word merge with a file that's open. So I need to go back into my file, close this down, go back in here, select my word merge. And when I press it, I'll see that little loading circle. Now, in some instances, this might pop up for you. In others, it may not. So I can say over here, it's no longer that document, that template. It's actually generated a new file, which has the information that I need for Jimmy. So you can see here, this is all the information that I wanted. And now I can go and save that. I can print that. I can email that. I can do what I want with that. And that in a nutshell is essentially how we do a word merge. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump back into our PowerPoint and we're going to have another go at doing this, but this time I'm going to focus on maybe a tenancy and we're just going to do it all in one go so you can kind of get a feel for the flow of things and how they work. So I have a document that I have pre-prepared, so I'm just going to pull that up. And in here, word merge, this time it's going to be a tenancy orientated letter. And this is based off one of the templates that you will find in there. It has our MDB logo. You can customize this as you see fit. But for my purposes, I'm going to use this and I have made it a little bit about bonds. So this is a document to notify the tenant that we have received their bond and the reference number should they need to refer to that at any point in the future. So the steps are the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into mailings up here. I'm going to select recipients. I'm going to use an existing list. So I just need to find where that's located. So that's going to be in my templates folder. And this time I'm going to scroll down and I want the word merge tenancies because I'm going to be doing this from the tenancy screen. So I'll select that one here, click open, and I can see I've got my values up here. So I'm just like I did before, going to go in and select these. So I want title. I'm going to space that out. I'm going to select first name, and this document's a little bit more official. So I'm going to go with their given name and their surname there. I'm going to go with address. I'm going to go with city. And one thing you might notice if you've been paying a keen eye is that this field is slightly different. So on the client one, it was T-City. So that speaks to why different screens won't work. So for example, the tenant trying to do a word merge with a client document, because the variables are actually different and you'll have access to different fields. So the options that you can select to will differ depending on which TXT file you've loaded. So I'm just going to go in, select state here, and postcode, date, I want today's date. So see here we've got a few more options. Today, this one's more official, so I'm going with their title and their surname. Space that out. Surname. Just going to paste the address here. So you can see once you get the hang of this, you can actually be quite quick at doing these and setting them up. So bond amount. So this one is actually 1, so I'm going to select that. And scroll down, you can see for tenancies, we've actually got quite a few options. So in terms of utilizing this function, you're really only limited by what you can conceive. So there's a lot of different options in here on what you can actually report on. I'm going to select bond amount, and I'm also going to give them their bond reference. So I'll scroll back down. And there we are, bond reference and site phone. So that's going to be the location or the number that they can contact us on, and that's pre-configured in my Chintaro. So I'll scroll down to site. Where are we? Maybe I've gone past it. I have, there it is, site phone. All right, perfect. So I'm just going to hit preview. Cool, looks good to me. So I'm going to go back into my Chintaro now. I've skipped a step. What I've got to do here actually is save the document. So go into File, Save As, Browse. And now I'm just going to demonstrate what would happen if I wasn't to select the file. So I've gone to the location, I've done everything right here, templates, and you can see it's just documents. Then I go to change my .x, and you can see the location has changed. So if I wasn't paying attention, I hit save, it's actually going to save in a different location. Kind of annoying, but it's just a quirk that comes with Word and Microsoft. So we'll go back in. We've selected the .x. Go back into templates, and now I can see the list of all my templates there. So this one I'm just going to call webinar bond. Hit save, and we're good to go. So now I can pull up my Chintaro, exit out of here, and we've just got to go back to the home and set things up again. So system maintenance, set up word merges, and then this time it will default to tenancy. So that's what we want. We can be sure of that by clicking on the tenancy button, going down to our new line, type in what I want to call this, webinar bond. Select that from the options down here. And there we are, webinar bond. All right, cool. So now we'll go back and go into our tenancy. See what I've done here is I've actually tricked myself out because I've got 2 documents here. I know I did space that out, so I can recall that that document is the one that I'm after, but that's something to be mindful of, just the naming conventions that you do utilize, especially if you're going to have multiple users. It's good to have a kind of set format because as you can see, once you really start to fill this out, it can get quite confusing and difficult to navigate. So it is important to have a good naming convention for the way that you're going to utilize these and discuss these with your colleagues. So I'll go back in and I'll go into my tenancy and I will select Sarah. All right, so the first thing I just want to make sure is that, yes, there's some details here that's going to populate. So I'll go into my word merge and select our webinar bond. This time it is an official document, so I definitely do want to leave a note. You can see here I've also got another option, so we can actually use a bit of a shortcut to use a different kind of template, just because arrears may correlate to tenancy, and you may use those functions a lot. We've developed those so that you can actually select them. So we're going to select tenancy, and we're going to hit our word merge tenancy. And again, we've got the same error there, so that's just something to be mindful of. We'll go back down, close that out, try again, and you can see it's having a think. And then once that little circle stops spinning, I can go over here and I can see that this has populated correctly. So now from here, I'm free to do as I see fit. I can email this off, or I can send this out as a letter to Sarah. And that in a nutshell is how you input word merges and conduct word merges into Chintaro. So let's jump back in. So essentially what we've covered off today is going to be available in this webinar. It will be sent to all the participants and all the registrants as well, I believe within 24 hours of the webinar being finalised. So you will receive a copy, and anyone else who has registered for it will too. If you would like a copy, you can definitely reach out to us. Alternatively, we do have a couple of other resources that are really useful in following along and setting up word merges. That's the knowledge base. So that's our KB, where you can actually search these. And the word merge solution will actually give you a step-by-step with screenshots, a guide to follow along when you're preparing your word merge. So if you prefer to have something in front of you that you can refer to quickly, that's definitely going to be a great resource for you. The other option is if you get stuck, let us help you. So send us an email or give us a call. Let us know what the problem is. Ideally, if you can send us through an email with an attachment of what the difficulty is you're having and just explain it to us, we can have some investigation. Alternatively, we can actually set up a go-to meeting if the problem's not easily resolved, to go in a little bit more detail about how to rectify the issue. Cool, and then that draws us to the conclusion. So next webinar topic is going to be around tenancy. So this is going to be a pretty broad subject just at this stage, although we are open to your feedback on what aspects you'd like to hear more about tenancy. So if you do have some ideas or thoughts on what you'd like to see covered, drop us an email or give us a call, and we can talk that over with you. Alternatively, if you have ideas for the webinar following that one, we're happy to hear on what you think those might be. So thanks for watching today's lesson. I hope it was informative for you, and hopefully you did take away or at least refresh yourself and build some confidence on how to do these word merges. As I said, they can be a really powerful tool, and ultimately that's what Chintaro is about, making your job easier and just making it a little less tedious in terms of copying that information across. So hopefully you're able to go forth and start word merging. Thanks a lot, guys. We're going to stick around for a little bit, so if you have some further questions, feel free to ask those in the chat. Otherwise, send them through to support and we'll get to them when we can. Thank you very much, guys.